What's going on, y'all? I'm Marcus here at the channel of the Debt Free Dad, where we're following my family's journey to financial freedom and learning and talking about finances along the way. Before we dive in, I'm an attorney, licensed attorney, but I'm not your attorney, so this isn't legal advice. This isn't financial advice. This is just my opinion and letting y'all know what's going on in the household of the Debt Free Dad. Before we dive into the video, a little bit of housekeeping. I just got back from vacation. Everyone enjoyed themselves. It was paid for, didn't accumulate any debt while we were on vacation. We went kind of El Cheapo on cooking some of the meals and all of that other good stuff. Everybody had a good time. We saw some great things, had some great experiences, and everybody got back safe. So as far as vacations go, that's as good as you can get with a vacation. Now, an update on the channel. Really, I'm going to use the month of December to really focus on content creation. One of my big goals that I want to do in 2022 is make sure that I'm providing the best content possible. So I'm gonna really use the remainder of this month to focus on content development, outlines, topics, getting data and facts that I need for topics, recording, because I want to make sure that I'm constantly improving the quality of the product that I'm giving to you all because I appreciate you all viewing. I want to keep you all entertained and captivated. So the normal Tuesday and Thursday drop may or may not happen. I will release videos during the month, but they'll just kind of be impromptu. Going into 2020, we'll pick back up with the Tuesday and Thursday drop right on schedule. But I would just wanted to give that update so we can know what's going on. Now, one of my homeboys shot me a message and was like, "Yo, did you see Dave Ramsey going in on Steve Harvey?" And I was like, "What? Dave Ramsey going in on Steve Harvey? What is this about?" So he sent me the link and I was about to watch it. I watched like the first 40 seconds and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna wait because I'm gonna do a reaction video to see if it's something worth reacting to. So, hopefully it's entertaining. But to see who was hating, who was on point, what valid ideas were made. It gotta be finance related if Steve Harvey somehow made it on the Dave Ramsey show. So I don't know if it's something he said on his radio show, Steve Harvey's radio show, or what, but we're gonna dive in and check it out.
Give me a milestone people achieve they can be proud of.
Well, one day, I would like to have no debt.
First of all, before I even go into it, the first thing I'm gonna point out about this video is this brother's family, the guy who just made that comment. You can tell his family has origins from somewhere outside of the United States because I'm sure most typical families would have been like graduating or having a child. So that's really a unique point of view to have, something you could be proud of, and him to say getting out of debt because most people don't think like that. So props to that young man and his family. You can tell his family supported too because they clapping. Look at Steve with his white shoes on looking like QB Herman.
That's not gonna happen. Debt is okay. OPM, other people's money, is how you get rich. You use other people's money, not yours.
Yo, all
That's
right.
how you
First
get
of all,
rich.
Steve is a hater. All right. His statement comes off as being a hater. As soon as he said that's not going to happen, I don't know if y'all listen closely. Listen, rewind this video back and listen closely, or go find the original video on Dave Ramsey's website. I'll probably put the link in the description box. When Steve said that hating ass comment, somebody in the background, sound like a woman in his family, said, "You can do it." So that's, I don't know, man. I just don't like the fact that Steve sounded like a hater and a dream killer just because he isn't debt free. He telling another young brother that he can't do it. That's kind of goofy to me. Not saying you can't take. Hey, Steve Harvey's a multi-millionaire, so I'm sure he knows something about finances. But I ain't like the fact that he was stepping on his brother's shoes. It's funny. I paused it, and Dave's face already looked frowned up, so I know he about to go in. But the second thing is, hey, I do agree with him about OPM. Others people's money is a way to develop wealth, but Steve didn't have enough time and didn't explain the context of it. This is just kind of my opinion on others people money to create wealth. It's two stages of creating wealth. The first stage is eliminating debt. No student loans, car loans, credit cards, nothing except for a house. Once you pass that stage, then you can get into the stage where you can use other people's money to create wealth, whether that's getting a loan to invest in your business, getting a loan to invest in real estate or land development ventures, then you can kind of look into those things. But it also depends on how much risk you want to take. Me personally, I don't want to take a bunch of risk having 5 or 10 rentals that I owe a mortgage on all of them. That's just not something I'm willing to do. Now, you can use other people's money to develop wealth, but it's a matter of how much risk you want to take. So let's see what Dave is talking about. He already looks salty. Let's jump in.
Dave, I want to punch something, and you're the closest thing next to me, and so I'm going to refrain.
You know, here's the thing. If you're a game show host, that's cool. But you probably ought to just like host the game show and not give out financial advice for one thing. The second thing you shouldn't do is give out financial advice if you're $25 million in debt to the IRS.
All right, pause. All right, let's time out right here. So, again, I agree. Like, in that short amount of time, Steve didn't have enough time and didn't appear to explain the concept of creating wealth by using other people's money. So, stick with what you know. If you're hosting the show, host the show. If you're a funny guy, be funny. That would be like nothing against Steve Harvey, and I'm sure he probably got good advice in his book on relationships. But I'm not listening to anything Steve Harvey got to say about relationships. Just knowing the information I know about Steve Harvey and his past relationships. Not saying you can't get it right. Not saying you can't drop some jewels. Everybody can provide you information on something, but you pick and choose who you get advice from. And I agree with that. Generally, you should stay in your lane on what you know about. I'm not on this channel telling y'all anything or telling y'all about anything that I haven't done personally. So now the other part is 25 million in debt. I don't know where that came from. I can't believe Steve Harvey got 25 million in IRS debt just because Steve has constant streams of income coming in from the game show, his talk show, his syndicated radio show. It's not like he a basketball player who made all this money and then all of a sudden stopped losing income. So let's see what Dave is talking about here.
You just airing out some laundry here, Dave?
I'm just saying, when you Google Steve Harvey, you find out he's $25 million in debt to the IRS. So if you're $25 million in debt to the IRS,
okay, all right,
when it comes
let's
to
pause
money
it right
advice,
here. This is to me, this kind of sound like Dave is trying to take Steve Harvey title of being the biggest hater on this little video we talking about. The first thing you talk about is this dude debt, and say when you Google it, the first thing that pop up is his debt. I'm gonna tell you right now, if typically if you Google somebody who's relatively famous, the first thing that pop up is probably gonna be bad. I guarantee you, if you Google Dave Ramsey, one of the top two things probably include his lawsuit. That's just how it is. Bad news is news. So the first thing you Google is always going to pop up. So yeah, Dave, you sounding a little like a hater right now, and I just can't see Steve having 25 million IRS debt. But let's go ahead.
Shut up. You really
If
should
he is
not
in debt,
open
I
your
agree with
yap.
that.
Really,
Don't open your yap. He mad.
And on top of that, be a dream killer for a young guy.
Yeah.
That's
I agree
what
with
gets
that
you
big
on this
time.
show. I mean, if you want to just be
He
stupid
was
and
hating on
$25
that
million
dude.
in debt to the IRS and have your little game show, that's fine. But when you're a dream killer and you rile George up, that'll get you on this show.
Listen, here's the thing.
I agree.
Steve Harvey is a celebrity. He's a media mogul. He makes his money in a lot of ways. This young guy,
Being funny
yeah,
is
stick
where
to
he makes
that.
his money. So try that
But to don't
more
let
often, and you won't be $25
Stay in your
million in
lane.
debt.
this idea that this guy's debt is a bad thing to pay off because it's other people's money and therefore it's good debt. And this
Wait
is
a
how you
minute.
build wealth.
It just occurred to me. Steve Harvey is using other people's money.
Now he's just going for shock
Your
value.
And yours. We're taxpayers. He
He's just
hasn't
going
paid
for
his
shock
tax
value
bill.
now.
$25 million worth.
Steve
He
can't
is
have
using
no debt
OPM.
like that
There you are.
to the IRS.
Dave
I
figured
can't
it
believe
out.
that.
You're a detective.
Followed his own advice.
This is crazy.
He's living the dream. Use OPM. Let's use the taxpayers' money. Let's don't pay our taxes. $25 million in debt.
I would love to see Steve host a financial show and they call and say, Steve, I'd love to pay off my debt. Can you tell me how? And he goes, well, you got to get more debt, man. You're doing great.
I don't even
Keep
know
it
who
up.
this dude is.
You're not quite there yet.
I can free up some cash flow for you. Don't pay your taxes.
That's one way to do it.
Ah,
Not a way I'd recommend.
Hey,
That's
listen,
crazy.
Steve, we would have left you alone, brother, but you know what happened? You stepped on a young man's dream, and you walked over into our garden when you did it, and so a pruning is in order. So that's what you're experiencing, young man. Stay in your lane,
Hey,
brother.
I agree with
And
that. Steve did hate on that guy. Even when he said that hating comment, like I told y'all earlier, you can hear somebody in his family say, "You can do it." Steve was hating. Now Dave is the hater, bringing up this 25,000 and 25 mil in IRS debt that he owes, which I just can't see Steve Harvey owing that. I'm sorry. I know it's possible, but I'd be shocked if Steve Harvey owed a $25 million debt to the IRS.
you'll be okay with us. We love you. We think you're funny. We think you're a great guy. Don't be a dream killer, though.
Yeah. And if
Uh,
that
I agree with
contestant is
that.
listening, I want you to call us up because we will actually help you.
Actually,
Get out
we'll
of
give
debt.
him a free subscription
That'd be
for
fire.
Ramsey
If old boy
Plus, so they can
call
get
into the
Financial Peace
show
University
and
and get 'em out of
talk
debt.
about
I
his
will
situation,
Quite
personally,
the opposite of a
I would
dream
actually
killer.
tune
Yeah.
in to
I wanna
watch
see
that to
that-
see
that-
how
We're
he
like a
progresses.
Make-A-Wish Foundation. We're on the other side of dream killer.
If anyone
Considering
contacts
they
me
did
and
this
I'm their
video.
one Make-A-Wish, they've led a sad life, Dave. Hopefully they have bigger dreams than
I
that.
wasn't saying you were the Make-A-Wish. I said
You.
we're going to let them make a wish when it comes to being wealthy. We're going to help them get there.
Oh, okay, that's different.
George, it was not personal.
I thought
This
you meant
dude
the
George
wish would
not
be
even
to
paying
hang
attention
out
to the
with me.
conversation.
Well, it could be. It could happen.
Thanks,
We
Dave.
can, we,
See,
can,
Dave-
we can aspire to that.
Dave's not a dream killer.
I'm
in this
not a dream.
scenario.
I'm going to let you live your dream, George.
But hey, listen, if you're out there listening, you're part of the Skeepers family that was on the Family Feud, hit me up. I will personally financially coach you because our friend Steve didn't do a good job of that.
Well, yeah.
They just going in for shock value.
Man,
Well, ain't going to happen.
not going to happen. Sounds a
Use
lot like Eeyore.
OPM, other people's money. Use the taxpayers' money.
Now, Dave, I think what he's referring to
You
here.
know, if Steve calls us up, we'll help him with his tax debt.
if Steve calls us up,
We'll
it's
give him a
gonna
debt
be-
If
snowball.
Steve
with
calls
the
him up, he
IRS.
gonna do a debt
I'll give him
snowball
a
to
free
the IRS.
membership to Ramsey.
I
Plus.
die
How's
laughing.
that?
You gave him a debt snowball because then, I mean, he would actually help the general deficit with $25 million being repaid.
That is true.
Because the deficit.
I think he's repaid. I've got the article here.
Did he repay it?
It sounds like he
Oh, he worked his way out of it. Look
yeah,
at that. He
got
did.
he had a few big deals come through.
Oh, wow.
A few big deals came through. And
See, that goes to show that Steve was doing, not Steve, Dave was doing all that hype for shock value because he clearly didn't research the topic. The old boy saw that he paid it. And like I said, I just couldn't imagine Steve Harvey having 25 mil of debt. That's crazy. I think that's it for this video.
he got it done.
So he's not the cause of the current deficit, just the past deficit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's using that OPM principle pretty well, though.
Well, what it comes down to is he's saying you've got to leverage as much debt as possible, and that is the key to wealth building,
Yeah.
which is the antithesis to how you now.
How long is that clip,
Teach.
James? You know, off the top of your head?
30 seconds.
Let's
Roll
see
it
one more time.
I want to see it one more time.
Give me a milestone people achieve they can be proud of.
Well, one day, I would like to have no debt.
No debt, no debt.
That's not gonna happen.
Yes, it is.
Debt is okay.
It's opposite day.
OPM, other
Yeah,
people's money.
that's it for this
is how
video.
you
Let's
get
go
rich.
ahead and jump out of this video.
You use other
This
people's
video
money.
is just all about a transition of haters. Steve hated on this young man, Dream, because he gave him some information that is correct, but he didn't put it into context as to when OPM becomes advantageous to build wealth. And Dave was just being Dave. Dave just was being Dave. I agree with Dave. Like, hey, stay in your lane, host the show, leave the finance game alone, unless you're going to explain it the proper way. But Dave turned into the hater. He was just hating on Steve Harvey purported IRS bill, which he didn't have, of course, because like I said, I just couldn't see that happen. But y'all let me know what y'all think. What do y'all think about how Steve Harvey addressed the young man when he talked about his debt freedom? And let me know in the comments what do y'all think about how Dave addressed how Steve handled his conversation with that young man. It would be interesting, though, if they could get this young brother to actually call into the Dave Ramsey show to kind of lay out his debt and just kind of track his journey, have him call in maybe every 6 months or something. Because that dude got the right mindset. So he definitely going to be debt free. He comes from a family that values that type of freedom. You can clearly tell they didn't grow up in the Western culture of overconsumption and living in the moment. So it'll be interesting. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Hey, I appreciate y'all tuning in. I'm probably a little bit louder than normal because I got the headphones on. As always, y'all take care. I love y'all. Be blessed. Peace. And if you're still tuned into this video, take a look at the videos on the screen. Check those videos out. There's more content related to our financial freedom journey and where we're learning and talking about finance.